It was the first day of a 4-day photo shoot, and I was a stylist for 10 models. It was a lot of work, but it was amazing. I couldn't believe I was there, doing what I love. My dream was finally happening. When you're from a small town, sometimes it's hard to imagine a life somewhere else. I never thought that moving to New York City or having my dream job was possible. But I decided to work really hard, and then my dream came true. I became a stylist for models, working for magazines I read when I was a teenager. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I used my family's computer all the time to look at fashion editorials. I didn't even know what the word editorial meant, but I was really interested in telling stories with fashion. I searched online for things like fashion and high fashion photos, and I started to learn the language of the industry. I was looking through a magazine, and I realized that you could really tell a story with beautiful designers and models, photography, hair, and makeup. I started thinking of big, creative ideas for photo shoots. Working in the fashion magazine industry soon became my dream. But to do that, there's really only one place to go: New York City. And that seemed impossible for me. I couldn't stop thinking about my dream. I thought that maybe I could teach at a fashion school, or maybe I would be known as a teacher who loved fashion. But New York City? In my Mexican-American community in Texas, women don't usually move out of their family's home before getting married. Some people think it shows that you don't respect your family. So I felt like I couldn't move to New York. New York City felt like the center of the fashion world to me, and it was scary. I believe that everything happens for a reason. As someone who believes in God, I decided I needed to pray. In that moment, I knew God was telling me it was time. So I called my mother and I said, "Mom, I am moving to New York." I'm lucky because my parents have always supported my dreams. The apartment was in the East Village, which is an incredible neighborhood to live in when you first come to New York City. It was amazing to see all of the interesting, fashionable people walking down the street. In the beginning, it was hard. I didn't know how to use the subway. I had to watch videos on YouTube about it. But the city also helped me become more independent. Soon, I started to feel more confident, just as confident as other New Yorkers. It was one of my first days in New York City. The interview was in a big building downtown. When I walked into the office, I saw a lot of beautiful women and fashion magazines everywhere. I felt like I was in a movie. An agent looked at my resume and saw that I didn't have much experience. She said, "My job is to be honest. Everyone comes to New York City to be a fashion stylist, but there's a lot of competition in this industry, so you have to be the best. Right now, I can only offer you a job at a store in the mall." First, I thought, wow, maybe she's right. Maybe this is the only job I can get. But then I thought about my grandparents. They didn't move all the way from Mexico for me to give up on my dream so easily. So I just looked at her and said, "Thank you for your opinion, but I disagree." After I started working, my roommate told me that she met a famous stylist who needed an assistant. Immediately, I said, "Yes, I can do it." So I became an assistant to a really well-known fashion stylist. I went to my first photo shoot, and I had to fake it till I made it. This manager was also from a small town, so she really tried to help me with my dream. She said, "If you need to leave work, just text me, and I'll come in and work for you." I was willing to do anything to keep working as a fashion assistant. I owned designer clothing, and I loved it, but I had to sell a lot of it to continue working towards my dream. Working freelance is incredibly scary in New York City, especially because rent is really expensive here. It's a lot of work without any of the benefits of a full-time job. She recommended me to someone, then that person spoke to someone else. And somehow, the right person at Hearst Magazines saw my portfolio. Hearst owns big fashion magazines like Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, Elle, and Women's Health. They called me and said they wanted me to work on a photo shoot for Revlon. It was going to be a very serious photo shoot, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. When I first moved to New York City, I worked at 2 luxury stores, and I was still friends with the managers. So I called them, and they let me come in and borrow a lot of clothing. This is not a common thing. Managers usually don't allow you to take clothing, or they charge you a fee. But these were people who believed in me, and they let me do it. I've always believed that you should respect everyone and do whatever you can to help other people. And I think that's why my career has been so successful. I moved to New York City to start a fashion career, but now it's also about the community I've met here. I want to help younger people who have similar dreams of working in fashion. New York City accepted me when I first moved here, so I want to return the generosity.